So, I've often said this actually on Filme Shilmy that whenever we get a UK exclusive, it's always very heartening and very sort of overwhelming. But I think today, this one really is one that's literally just lurked from the shadows and exploded and how. And I am genuinely so delighted to have Prajesh with us from Mardani 3, the absolute villain who he was in the film, actually joining us for his first ever UK exclusive interaction. And honestly, I think I'm just so lost for words at the moment that I think I'm just blabbing anything at this point. But I think Prajesh, I just have to say thank you so much for joining us, and a warm welcome to you, and a huge congratulations on Mardani 3, and what a breakthrough, I would say.
Thank you, Anuj. Thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words, and you were very kind in your review of the film. And I'm glad you wrote to me, and it was very nice, and it felt really good. So thank you for being so kind.
No, absolutely. But look, I think as I you might have just heard me in my intro just now, I used the word lurked from the shadows, and I think
Right.
Pratik, that's kind of I would describe the sort of trajectory that you've had thus far. You're someone who has begun you've worked in theater, you've worked in projects like Fields Like Ishq, you've also worked in Sam Bahadur as well. But yet, you were silent in all of these kind of roles, and suddenly in Mardani 3, the floodgates just open. I want to know actually that whole idea of working in the industry, getting really, really good work and, doing some great, sort of performances, but yet also having to be that silent, sort of almost foreboding figure, quite literally, that you do end up playing in the film as well. I'd love to know that entire process, actually.
I mean, honestly, I feel like I've always been interested in doing good work and letting the work speak for itself. I feel like the attention that should come to any artist should come from the work that they do. And I feel like everybody gets their due credit at the right time. So I've just wanted to, and I still want to just do good work, and um, it's lovely to see that it's received so well and that people um, write to you and tell you what they feel, especially with the film like say Mardani, which has a scale like that, so people from all over the world have watched it and have been very kind in telling me what they felt about it. So I honestly feel like you just have to do your work and let the work speak for itself. I think that's just being honest to the craft.
Absolutely.
um,
Yeah, no, beautifully said. And I think I read up somewhere actually that, for your role in Mardani, you had to really keep it watertight. Like it was, even for friends and family, you couldn't necessarily talk about, the fact that I don't know if you could even say that you were even in the film or itself, but it was completely watertight, and rightly so as well, because I think because your character as such was, one that it had to take the audiences by surprise, otherwise sara maza kirkira ho jata, right? So I think for you, I think what was the moment when you kind of auditioned for the role, and how difficult is it to kind of keep that maintain that silence, because it's such a big achievement, right? And you kind of want to scream off the rooftops about it, but here you are having to just keep that contained. I would love to know actually your thought process as well.
I mean, it was difficult. But I think that it was also important for the film, and I was very excited to also keep it under wraps. Like, I feel like, because at the end of the day, when you, like, for example, you told me before we started doing this that it worked for you because you did not know, you did not see it coming.
Right.
So I think, like, very, very close friends and family, I kind of could tell them some things, and I still wanted to keep it a secret. Like, there were a lot of people in my family who did not know the length and breadth of the part, and I said, I've just done this chota sa role in this film. So whenever it comes out, please go and watch it. And then when they did, they were totally like blown away by it, and that for me was actually more exciting. So it was it was also something which I think um, required for me to get into a certain process. Um, and I put all my attention into that instead of thinking about, I need to tell everybody I'm doing this,
Mm.
because I think the patience rewards itself eventually. So I just had to, of course, like my parents got to know about it, and that was very special. But yeah, I had to mince my words really, and wait for the right moment,
Oh,
and that
lovely.
was fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think it's quite ironic as well, though, because like you mentioned, and I think from what I can gauge from your response there is about internalization, right? And
Mm,
Ramanujan, your character in Mardani 3, is literally all about internalization,
mm,
right? And I think it's such a it's terrifying because he's actually so nice. Like he seems so nice and obviously a good looker, a desirable, someone who you would one would consider desirable in the sense that, you know, what like he was an advocate of something good, right? On the surface level. But then when you see those layers beneath that is when you realize actually how devious and evil he really is. I think for you, Brajesh, to get into the mindscape of such a character, which is layered, which is obviously sinister as it comes, uh,
mm,
it must have been very emotionally taxing for you. What
mm.
was it that kept you kind of sane in playing an otherwise sort of, character?
The joy of it, the excitement of it. Um, I think it's such a gift for an actor to play something which is scary and dangerous and yet so much fun, because you get to delve into aspects of your own self and your personality that you perhaps didn't know you had within your own self. Of course, my director played a huge role in guiding me through that process. And what you see is also what was written in the script. So it was, and Abhiraj always insisted on me finding Ramanujan within me than pursuing an idea. So I think, yeah, of course, there were days where, and actually not even days, I think there were moments where I felt like, yeah, it's kind of a bit weird. I felt weird about some parts, but I think that I had to come back to the joy and the excitement of playing it, and because that keeps you going. I feel like you have to come back to play, because at the end of the day, it's play, it's make believe, it's trying to tell a story, it's being a part of a bigger narrative. So not just focusing on your own part and being like, it was very. I mean, I think for me, the joy of doing it was the most important, and so it was really fun, and I had a lot of fun even in the most scary and gruesome scenes, because um yeah, like like especially with the girls and all, like the young girls in the movie, we all became friends. Like if they had to shout and scream in a scene, I'd shout and scream with them to just kind of warm up and kind of feel like we're doing this together. So I feel like the idea of play has to be really centered around something which is dark and gruesome, because it can otherwise really stop you from fully exploring your own potential and having fun. So I tried going back to it, and it was nice.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting what you said about Abhiraj, the director of
yeah.
Mardani, really sort of advising you to find Ramanujan within you rather than seeing it as an ideology or as a thought, right? Um, Talk to me if you could delve in a bit deep about that because I'm very curious to know because see when you're playing a villain right like
Mhm.
obviously you like अगर कोई किलर का रोल प्ले कर रहा है तो जाहिर सी बात है वो किल तो नहीं करेगा ना
Right.
to get an essence or a flavor of that role. So I think for you what were some of the darker areas that you had to tap into to really bring out the essence and the flavor of Ramanujan to ensure that it does come across authentic, but at the same time also part of the larger narrative, as you mentioned as well.
Mhm. Mm, I remember having a chat with Abhiraj once about what do you like about Ramanujan, because I think as actors, you always want to find an anchor point into getting into a character, right? Like how do I not judge this character? How do I find find things in this character that possibly I can imbibe and find in myself? And I think one of the things that he told me was that he does not feel any emotion, that he's been through so much in life, that he's also a product of the society, of the world that has made him who he is. So it's not necessarily evil and good. We're all products of the society, of our upbringing, of our childhood. And he's had a very dark past, which has made him this kind of stoic, emotionless, perhaps um, apathetic person. uh, he has a strong attachment to just one figure in his life, which is Amma. But other than that, but also he's also a man of purpose, and he has a vision. He wants to execute that, and um, so I think there were various aspects. There were various conversations. I also feel like I was I prepare a mood board when I'm working on a character. Like I'd read things and I'd just keep it somewhere, and I'd have some pictures that I'd look at, some music that I'd listen to, and you just don't know where and in which moment that could just help you. But you just need to, I feel like, overwhelm yourself with a lot of this stuff, because it just kind of keeps the mind keeps working. And so I feel like there were a lot of those things. There were things that Abhiraj helped me sometimes be very, very clear and specific about, and at the same time be like, okay, you find a way of doing this. How would you like to portray that? And I think to 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 find that kind of a way of being where he's so restrained and he's emotionless, but at the same time there's a lot going inside of him. So that was exciting and at the same time challenging. But there
Beautiful.
were various things that I think I was reading and watching and listening to. So I don't know if I can tap into something specific and tell you that it was a mix of a lot of things.
Sure. I mean, I would love to know what those mix were. I mean, if you can just at the top of your head, whatever you can remember. I mean,
There
feel
is
free.
a couplet by Javed Akhtar Saab, which speaks about that when you see a swan in a lake, you see that the swan is very calm, but when it is in the water, the feet are always like, moving very fast.
Hmm.
So वो बतख के जो पैर होते हैं वो बड़ी जोर से चल रहे होते हैं, but वो, so there's a lot that's happening inside of him. For example, I'm just giving you a very bad example, but there was
Sure.
stuff like this. Like there was poetry, there was music that I would listen to and kind of be like, where is that taking me? Also this thing of like stillness and breathing, so I don't like to talk about these things because it all sounds like very whatever, but I think yeah, there were these things which helped me eventually, because I just had to kind of put myself through these experiences and possibly find things that I could.
Hmm.
And it was lovely that I could work on that part for a year, by the way.
Hmm.
I think that's also a gift for an actor, to completely immerse yourself into one character,
Hmm.
because that's what I did for that one particular year. And so it was fun. It was really nice.
See, we always see the final product, right? No one, I mean, we hear about the story of the journey building up to it, but it would
Mhm.
be nice to actually get a visceral feel of what it was like for you. I'd love to know that.
Yeah. So I was doing my plays. I was touring with a theater group, and and I got a call for this audition, and I was in the middle of a bunch of plays that I was doing at that time, all um, very exciting plays, and I went and I auditioned for it, and then within a couple of days I had to test for some more scenes. A bit of it was also online because I was traveling, but then I was called, and then there was a director's round where it was like a workshop with Abhiraj. So there's a whole process that goes into the YRF casting process,
Right.
but it was really fun because I think uh, working, getting the privilege of working with the director is, I think, something that actors always love, and I thoroughly enjoyed because it was something that we did together. I
Hmm.
don't think that it's something that I could have done just by myself. It is extremely collaborative, and not just like actor and director, but like everyone's inputs, for example. Like, I think, which is why it's very important to listen. But about the audition process, it was fairly simple. It was intense and it was slightly long, but I think it was necessary, and I just had to, you know, just focus on that for those 2 weeks, perhaps.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, yeah.
oh, lovely. That's pretty cool. So I think what I've always loved about Mardani is that I think because Yash Raj films for me, whenever someone mentions YRF, it's for me what always stands out is the way how beautifully they present the stories.
Mhm.
The aesthetic that is there, and all of that. But Mardani 3 for me, it's not it takes a complete break from what we've seen as escapism, cop films, for example, in Hindi cinema largely. And this one is very earthy. It's very earthy, but yeah, there's also the color palette is often a lot more vibrant. It's often vibrant, but at the same time, the camera also then takes you into places where you feel as a viewer you're not meant to be there. I think for me, what really stood out actually in the film was the main action sequence actually, where it's finally revealed who Ramanujan is, and when he kills the girl, right? And again, that was the only time where you would see sort of bouts of pinks and reds and blues and a bit more neonish kind of a vibe going there. Because otherwise, the rest of the film would have been just like browns and, slightly darker tones of the in the film. And I found that really fascinating. I think for you, from a technical perspective as well, when you are executing roles as an actor, does what impact does the color palette or camera movements and I think the sort of mechanical structure of a film, what impact does that actually have on you as an artist?
Mm. That's a very, very interesting question. I don't think I've even thought about it like that. I think you've really beautifully described it, and wow, like, what I can say to you is that one of the most exciting and challenging aspects of making film is that unlike theater, where you know what the stage is like and what the theater is like, the infrastructure of the theater, a lot happens on the film set. So when you are done with your makeup and hair and your costume and you arrive, you suddenly see the sand and you feel the texture of the sand. You see what kind of room you're in. Especially if you've not rehearsed in that space. Like, you just come on that day of set. Like in that scene, the lodge scene, the Prince Lodge scene. The
Mm,
first time I saw it was the day I had to shoot the scene.
right.
So I think you just have to kind of take it all in. That's easier said than done, but I think it all really helps. Like the mood of the scene, um, the things that you feel. I think it a lot of it does impact you, but I think as an actor, all I can say is that because we were shooting in such different locations, every location had something to offer, and uh, you just had to be present in that moment, and a lot of it would aid the pitch of the scene or the tone of the performance. Um, I have I have not looked at it as closely as you have, which is why I'm so intrigued and fascinated by your question. But I suppose certain things are very external, like the clothes you're wearing that day,
Mm,
the color of the walls, the properties around you when you're shooting that scene, and then you have to let all of that also impact you, internally. It's a mix of things. The energy of the co-actor, for example. What are they wearing? What are they looking like? What mood are they in that day? What are we trying to do here? How Because we are trying to find truth
yeah.
in that moment together, right? And it's not that easy to do that, because you both have, because if it's a scene between two people, you have to arrive at that point of feeling like we're making something together, knowing that there are cameras, knowing that there are so many people, there, costume, lights, this, that. So I think it's a beautiful and fascinating process, and you never really know where a
Mm,
scene will go. So that for me is also the really like amazing part of doing it, because
yeah.
it's risky and it's scary, but it's also great fun.
For sure. No, absolutely. So beautifully articulated, honestly. And honestly, I'm genuinely, you know what, when I think of it, I'm so proud of Abhiraj because this is it's he's done such a remarkable job. It's not easy. It really is
Yeah.
not easy to make a film of this nature. And a big hats off again to YRF as well for backing it. Because again, it takes
Yeah.
courage to really back it, a film like this. It really is. But I like what you said about finding your truth, like
Mm,
you said because it's almost like filmmaking is almost like a juxtaposition, isn't it? Like, you're kind of in a make-believe world, right?
mm,
But then at the same time, you're trying to find honesty within that. Like,
mm,
do you have you ever, as an artist, actually ever felt like a bit of a duvida, like a dilemma of
mm,
sorts, where you're trying to find your emotional truth or find that truth whilst also navigating a world which is essentially set up?
mm. I think the setup sometimes aids it, finding the truth, because everyone is focused in finding the truth, unlike in real life, where that kind of absolutely concentrated attention and focus on being like, there are 300 people today trying to make a scene happen.
Hmm.
So it's extremely collaborative. And which is why sometimes I feel like being on set or doing a good scene is so rewarding that you feel like you've lived a good day.
Hmm.
You know, like there was an actor who said that the only time I know when I'm making sense, I think it was Maggie Smith, that the
Hmm.
only I don't remember that the only time I know what I'm doing is when between action and cut, right? So I feel like that does happen sometimes, because you're just supposed to be present in that moment and find the truth, and there are so many people helping you do that. So because we're all telling a story together, so it's really, really incredible and fun to do that. And sometimes it's very hard. So you have to keep trying, and you have to keep trying, and you have to keep trying. But I think it's also in that pursuit that there is a lot of joy, which is why I think we do what we do. Maybe.
And also, it's interesting, right? Because if you technically think about it, there's like for you as a talent as well, like you've explored so many different strands. You've had action, you've
Mm,
had uh the social sort of drama element of it, where it's highlighting a very important subject, which unfortunately still is very rampant and scarily rampant in our society. You've also, at times had a bit of a I won't say romance, but there was a side to you which seemed very charming, right? So there was that kind of a spin as well to it. So there's so many different layers, Prajesh, right? Like it's fascinating. But I tell you what though, what I find very fascinating actually about this is the fact that you as a character are in a way, there's two powerful women that are at the center of your world in this film. You've got this very evil, menacing, you know, beggar mafia head, Amma, who's there, and honestly, she's as spooky as it comes, to be very honest, right? And then you've got Shivani Shivaji Roy, right? Who's invincible, who's formidable, equally vulnerable at the same time. And it's so interesting that you've got these two feminine energies. And I think for you, I guess, as a male, so to speak, to really, how has kind of doing the role in a way helped you understand the idea of female energy in that sense as well? Because see, it's not just about the good and bad, right? It's also about the conditioning, and how sometimes it's the conditioning and society, like you said, the social structures
mm,
that really make this narrative really thicken. So I would love to know
Hmm.
your thoughts about that as well.
That's again a very good question. I mean the fact that the movie is called Mardani,
Yeah, actually
mm,
true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and which means a manly woman. Um, and खूब लड़ी मर्दानी वो तो झांसी वाली रानी थी. We
Rani
say
thing.
that about
Yeah.
Rani Lakshmibai, for example. Um, I, I don't know. Like I feel like good and evil, strength and cowardice or weakness. I think they are in all of us, irrespective of gender.
Of course.
Ramanujan's evil is not the so-called violent, masculine, I'm going to beat you evil that you're right now seeing everywhere, right? Because this
Mm,
kind of like hyper masculine, violent um, idea of evil and violence. But I think that I think everybody has a purpose, and everybody, as you said, that is a product of the society, and people are constantly navigating and negotiating with power in different ways. Um, Shivani's way of negotiating and navigating the system for what she believes in is different from Amma's. And Ramanujan is on a totally different trip. Like, because his ambition is something else. He's probably not even interested in violence. Actually, he doesn't even know violence.
true.
He is a capitalist. He wants to build an empire. He wants to do well. He wants to create a vaccine. His ways of doing that are unethical. But he also questions that. He questions your morality and says. So I think these are such interesting questions. Like I think I would probably be have I'd think of them after this and um, have a better way of articulating it. But I think for me it's about looking at these things without looking at gender,
Mm,
because I think it's about power and navigating and negotiating the system, and all of them being products of the society. So
mm,
so if people are watching this film and feeling like, yeah, that's possible, yeah, that is true, that there is truth in an amma, um, beyond the good and evil. That, oh, I can understand that amma went through this, and this is why she's become the person that she is. If we can get, because that's the whole point, right?
mm,
It's also challenging people's idea of good and evil, and and power, for example, and courage.
mm.
So I don't know if I've been able to answer your question, but I think that, um, yeah, I think the movie also in a lot of ways challenges our notions of these things, which is why it also works. Because Shivani Shivaji Roy is such a powerhouse,
Right.
and she can do everything and anything. Um, and she has tact and this and that, like, Sam Dam Dan Bhed, as they say.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, yeah.
And I think also with Abhiraj is his quality as a filmmaker, his ability to really to tap into emotions, like in his film Love Yatri, for example. I felt like he did that so beautifully, where he could showcase again the geographical shift as well that was in Love Yatri, because it
Mm,
obviously goes from India to then the UK. And again in Mardani, we also again have a geographical shift again, but then how human emotions, systemic structures also then come into place there. And the way he's managed to navigate that, is brilliant. And I think honestly, kudos goes to him. And also I think I really must compliment the climax scene, and Mardani as a franchise has had some of the most menacing villains, Prajesh, right? Like it's
mm,
you like I remember that that blood-curdling feeling I got when I saw Vishal Jetwa in the second
mm,
one, right? Like, and it was disturbing. It really was. But there was something about Ramanujan that just felt so satisfying when, at the end when Shivani Shivaji Roy kind of like जब उसका वध करती है वो, right? It just, oh, and the dialogues that she said, the writing of the dialogues that she said, And the fact that you could hear Aigiri Nandini playing in the background, I'm literally getting goosebumps as I recall that scene. And oh, it was so powerful. And I think this is a bit of an extension of my thoughts on the first one about the whole feminine energy and stuff like that. But I think a scene like that one, because Rani Ma'am is someone who is so warm and compassionate, right? Like she's so lovely when you meet her, and it's just amazing the synergy that she has with her co-stars. Like honestly, it's just wonderful. I would love to know about the last sequence. That whole,
Mm.
I was talking about the color schemes, but that was literally a, I mean, that was the pinnacle of the film. So I would love to know your thoughts and the sort of thought process behind that sequence actually, and how challenging was it to execute it as well.
Well, I was getting beaten up. I just had to keep my body loose and be like, hit me, I just kind of follow the choreography per se.
Right.
Uh, it was intense, and yeah, I think it's about, it's that thing, right? Like in that moment, you just have to believe that everything that's happening here right now is real, and a lot of things I don't, which is why I kind of always struggle with talking about how I felt in a scene,
Hmm.
because because I wouldn't even be able to articulate it, perhaps, because there are so many things that are going in your head when you're in that scene at that particular point of time. There's fire in that scene, right? For example, there's blood. You're also getting like beaten up. I mean, it was intense, and um, I just kind of had to believe in in what we were doing in that moment. And I think even the writer, Ayush Bhai, had told me that this is about catharsis. Mardani is about catharsis, especially the climax. And I was quite surprised when I saw people's reaction to the scene, like in the sense that, for example, when I saw it with my mum,
Hmm.
she was actually cheering Rani and saying, score, mar. And I
Oh
was,
my God, my
I was
mom did. Oh
watching
my
this,
God, my mom did the same. Like literally, no,
you know.
seriously. Yeah, mom literally.
So,
Yeah.
so I feel like maybe we've been able to tap into that emotion if people are feeling like that. Um, that's the whole point. Uh, so yeah, I'm happy that our mums have felt that way.
It was so
At
fun.
the behest of my me being beaten up,
No, it's
the
it's
cruelty.
But do you know what? Again, I think this. I think definitely for sure, and also again, it's a Rani Mukerji connection, though. I tell you because I said this to Rani Ma'am also that I remember the way my mom cried whilst watching Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway. I have never seen her weep the way she has wept, right? And
Right.
and the way she was cheering with this one also at the end, yeah, like literally she was like, "Mom, score, mom!" Like literally, you could just
Yeah,
see
yeah.
her expressions like
Fully,
fully
fully,
coming in, right? So
fully.
it's amazing how it really has tapped into that actually. So no,
Yeah,
I hear you. I really do hear you on that. But
yeah,
you're right. I think it does. I think that's what it is, Prajesh. I think from what I have gathered, I think throughout the course of this conversation is that you're someone who doesn't I think you're someone who just has a very practical approach to life and to acting, right? Like, because at the same time you still manage to create that depth. It's amazing how you manage to have this very practical acha ye karna hai wo karna hai chalo karte hain and not think too deeply. Do you not
yeah,
find it a bit like again a bit of a juxtaposition, so to say, because obviously acting is a profound experience essentially, right?
yeah. But it is not about thinking, it's about doing. Uh, it's about just being present in that moment, being ready and prepared for that moment. See, there is when I'm reading a scene, I'll be reading it till the time I'm tired of it. Like I have to feel this gut wrenching sensation of, if I don't say this line now, I'm gonna puke.
Hmm.
It has to get to that point of just feeling like, okay, I've thought about it from all different possibilities. I have imagined it. And then you have to just shut that box and go on set and just let things affect you. Let the co-actor affect you, how she's saying a line, how, the like you spoke about the ambience, right? Like the colors, the properties, the weather, the temperature on set that day, all those things. And so I think I don't think it's a thinking thing. I think the thinking happens before, and you can try and look at from different perspectives. Like for example, for Ramanujan, one of the things that I did when I was auditioning was that, because I had to do a bunch of scenes in the audition, but I was like, let me try, because Abhiraj told me, he said, I want you to find your way of playing this character. So then I started thinking about what are his hobbies, what
Oh,
would he do, like would he, because he's somebody who's mostly just by himself, and would he make music, would he know how to play the keyboard, because I'm a musician myself.
mm,
So in fact, one of the things I started doing was, I also started, I mean, I stopped using my right hand. I started doing a lot of things with my left hand, writing and all of that. I don't Yeah, I think actors talk a lot about the. I don't like to talk about these things. I just like to do these things, because I don't think it matters. I think what matters is what you see on screen, and it's whatever you do is not enough. I
right.
think you just have to keep doing it. But I remember that. So I play the ukulele. I have it with me, and then I started tuning it and playing it from one hand, just to kind of figure out how would he do these things. Would he
Yeah.
use if how would he use the computer? How would he? So the point being that you have to keep playing and you have to keep trying these things. But when it comes to it, it is all very practical.
Mm.
It is a 12-hour shift or a 15-hour shift where everybody is there for a particular purpose. So I feel like both these things have to coexist. It's the heart and the mind. They have to be together. Um, and I really want to. I'm still very fresh and very new in this, but I would like to do more work that makes me challenge my own ideas about the craft and the performance. Work with actors who work differently and see how they do it. And that's a long road. But I'm excited to do that. But yeah, I think it has to be a balance of both the things, because it is very, very practical, and at the same time it is, the empathy game, and you have to go through all these experiences. Yeah, I
No, I
think so.
hear you. No, 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 I hear you. And I think it definitely has to work, adjacent to each other. And I think it definitely does make a lot of sense with what you said. And I think,
And I think if the sorry, I'm cutting you here, but
no, no, yeah,
if you felt something in a scene, then it's also you and not just me, because as an audience you also see yourself. There's a lot of projection that goes into it, right?
mm,
The way you're making sense of a scene might not even be what I was thinking of when I was doing that scene. So I also don't like to talk a lot about these things, because I feel like I am an actor. I'm going to do something. Did it make you feel something? I'm interested in knowing what it made you feel than me talking about what I felt or how I made it. Because I think that's the conversation I'm more interested in doing. Um,
that's really different though. I'll tell you what, it's a breath of fresh air, I would say, because I think कभी कभार ऐसा होता है ना, because I've heard a lot of actors say this when I do interviews also, like I don't want to over intellectualize
yeah,
my process and all that, but I think this process is itself by virtue very intellectual. So I don't think you necessarily can over, but I hear what you're saying, because you want to know essentially the what the reaction was, because that's essentially your guide to how
yeah,
well you're doing your job, right, essentially.
yeah,
So I hear that. But I think do you remember, in conversation, I kind of asked you earlier about what kept you sane, right, otherwise, right, in doing this scene. But I think, given your response just now about the heart and mind having to work together, um how do you think that approach has actually helped you navigate an otherwise very chaotic industry? Because the film industry is it's
yeah.
it's a market, right? Like, it's a market. You'll find different sorts of people, sorts of products also. So how's that really helped you to really keep that balance for you as a person as well?
Friends, family, theater, food, books, um, movies, some performances, some actors who leave a strong mark on you, on your psyche, on your heart. Movies like Hamnet, actors like Irfan, directors like Vishal Bharadwaj, cinema that it exists in the market, but it is beyond it because the search is deeper.
Right.
The reason why we are doing it, it's beyond it, you know. Yeah, we are in a market. I mean, everything is a market, right? That's just the perils of capitalism, right? Everything is a product and whatever cost and market value, and but it's not about that. It's really not about that. When in a theater, when something moves you, like really, really moves you, I think that's the point of all of this. So what keeps me sane is of course, like I spoke about friends and family and this and that, because they really keep you very grounded. I would come back home and do the same. Like nothing changes at home. For
Mm,
example, you might be a star on set, but you are not a star in the house. And I like that. I enjoy that a lot. My friends, for example, all of them, their lives are as important as my life. And I'm interested in their lives and they are interested in mine, right? Um, I think if you want to keep sane, you will find ways of keeping sane. And if you don't want to, then to the world is your, you know,
mm,
um, you can just go crazy. But I think, yeah, you have to really kind of know what what excites you about this. And if it is the market, then that's that. But um, I think for me, it's something bigger and deeper. And I've experienced that in the theater, because in the theater, especially in India,
mm,
there is really no money. And the kind of work you see in Indian theater is sometimes absolutely outstanding. And then you're thinking, you're like, and directors and actors, and there are so many of them. Nasiruddin Shah Saab being one of them, right? He's absolutely remarkable on stage. And so there is something that's happening there, right? Which has nothing to do with the market and the commercial aspect of it. So I think the art and the business, whatever, it's a marriage of the two. Cinema, for example,
mm.
but yeah, I think you need to come back to the artist eventually. That
No,
that could possibly keep you sane. I don't know.
absolutely. No, for sure. And I think it is just so fascinating. I think also the camaraderie, like I want to bring it back to Mardani again. I also want to acknowledge that camaraderie that you had with Malika, you know, and I think the way she presented the role is phenomenal, and she's a remarkable actor as well. Like I
Yeah.
saw her, I think in Aspirants, I think I saw her recently, sort of seen her before in, and she is again someone. I feel like you and Malika have a lot in common, from what I've seen of her interviews as well. She has a very practical approach to her craft as well. It seems like, to me at least, where she will play these characters that have these so many layers and strands, but for her it's not about deepening it. It's just about going straight heads on, like, how. So do you think there was that sense of commonality which also kind of helped, create that synergy between you, as almost like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of a synergy?
Mm. I think both of us come from the theater.
Yeah,
That
that's what it is. Yeah.
there is a shorthand there, right? Uh, because and of course she's done much more work and she's brilliant, and there's a lot to learn from seeing her work the way she does, and that I feel like about everybody in that movie, for example, because
Mm,
I feel like there's a lot that you learn from just seeing people do what they do. But I think definitely when you come from the theater, there's a certain there's certain camaraderie, as you said. um there's certain things you say, there's certain things you don't say, there's certain things you don't need to say. And I hope that that's translated on screen, uh because it was really fun to collaborate with her.
yeah. No, it was
Yeah,
it was really good to see you both. Now, on a final
yeah.
note, Brajesh, you did mention that you kind of wanna do roles which kind of in a way challenge your perspective on the art. right?
Absolutely.
That's the sort of roles that you would like to do. But I think going forward now, because I do feel art mirrors society and vice versa. But at the same time, I feel like the world that we're living in, I know change is a constant thing, but it's just like constant is almost becoming very short-lived nowadays. Things are rapidly changing. Um, how a film might succeed at a box office, is also changing. What that definition means, सब कुछ बदल रहा है, and you're in a
Right.
landscape which is quicker than, quicksand at this point. Uh, how do you feel as an actor? I think just seeing the way things shift, because see, it must have some, as a human being, it must have some sort of impact on you, right? Like you must also feel ke, acha, like I need to also think about what I want to do in the next few months, let's say. So what is your, I don't want to use the word ambition because it kind of dies down the whole thing, but do you know what I mean to say? Is like, what do you kind of see as a as a thing that will kind of help you motivate or guide you, I think, in an ever-changing environment?
Mm. The- I don't know. I was recently asked a question in an interview about what's your 5-year plan, and I said that,
God.
governments have 5-year plans.
Yeah.
You can't have that as an artist. I mean, in general, I think where I am at in my life right now, it's about I'd like to collaborate with people who I really like, whose work I really like. Uh, I'd like to, I'd like the idea that I could have something to offer to them is exciting and challenging to me, because I don't think I can right now. I'm not in a position to be like, this is the kind of career I want. I want to do work that challenges me, that excites me, collaborate with people who whose work I really like, be a part of their cinema or the theater, or like, make my own music, like all that stuff. But I don't know. I don't think it's an ambition question. I think it's a matter of just um, being able to do good work. And yeah, that's pretty much where I am right now.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, yeah.
No,
Because
and
there's so much to do.
of course, no, there's so much to
Yeah,
do. And I think that really beautifully rounds it up, because that's exactly where our conversation started, was about work does the talking. And what
yeah,
we want to do is good work. So I think that's so
yeah,
beautifully said. But
yeah.
honestly, Prajesh, it's been, oh wow, it's been so lovely to have you, honestly. And I think you're such a fine talent. And I think I'm very excited to see what we will see from you next. I think it's always, when an actor does a good role, you're always keen to see what other tricks they have up their sleeves, how they will engage you again, what emotions will they stir in you in the next project. And I think that's exactly the sort of feeling I'm getting for you as well. But honestly, I think Mardani 3 is such a special film. It is a very important film for our society as well
Yeah.
at its current stage. And I'm really, really proud and really happy for the team. And I'm so glad that the film has performed well, and now it's also doing well on Netflix as well.
Yes.
So huge
Yes.
congratulations, and cannot wait to hear more from you in the future as well.
Thank you, Anuj. And um, I think I don't like to give a lot of interviews because that's just me. But I think this was really a very intellectually stimulating and fun conversation. I think your questions have so much depth and love for cinema.
Mm.
And I'm actually quite fascinated. I Do you ever want to make films?
Oh, I would I would love to, but I
Because
just
I think there is a filmmaker in you.
really, oh wow.
Yeah. I think that your observation is it's so deep and keen and precise actually, because you're interested in questions of art.
It's
um
fascinating.
and yeah, so this was a conversation, because there were many points in this conversation where I did not know, like, what I think about these things, because I haven't thought about this. So you've encouraged me to think about these things,
Mm.
right? So I feel like this is wonderful, and I'm glad we could do this.
I'm so glad.
um
Oh no,
Thank you so much, and I can't wait for us to talk again.
definitely.
Um, but all the best to you, and I think you should definitely make a film.
Oh
There's
wow.
a filmmaker in you.
Do you know what? It's crazy, Prajesh, because I think because when you analyze films so much, right? And I've been
Yeah.
analyzing films, I think even before I was a journalist, right? So I've been growing
Mhm.
up and watching cinema. So even as a kid, I would always think, "Acha, ye क्यों हो रहा है? वो क्यों हो रहा है?" You know, like so now when I
Yeah.
watch a film and I observe something, it's like even in life now, because I'm looking at color schemes so much. मैं रेस्टोरेंट में बैठा हुआ हूँ and I'm like, अच्छा ये दीवार ये कलर का है और ये कलर का है. Like this evokes so many this emotion, वो emotion. And my dad's
Mhm.
like, हम जब पहले खाना खा ले, you know. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. I
Yeah.
think as creatives, I think this is what passion does, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. In fact, recently there was a cinema journalist student, somebody who's studying cinema journalism and wanted to do an interview with me. And the questions that she was asking me were also about, like, you know, the usual questions, right? And one of the things that I asked her was, that, what does cinema journalism mean to you? You know, um, and and I think she took a while, and she's like, I don't know, like, because in India, we talk about certain things, and I was like, no, you need to really, really find your own voice when you're looking at a film, when you're looking at a performance, because that's going to be specific and definitive and honest. Because
Hmm.
we're all creative people. Like, I feel like the question that you asked me are not just journalistic and speculative. These are artistic curiosities. So, which is why I feel like there is a certain. I'm intrigued in understanding how your mind works. Like, you're interested in understanding mine, right? Like,
Yeah,
I'm interested in knowing, oh, if you're talking about the blues and the pinks and the reds and the greens, how does he think like that? So, I think this is the conversation that has helped both of us.
definitely
Um,
so, man. 100%.
yeah.
I think it's just so, but honestly, I think really it's just so good to see such good talents being introduced.
Mhm.
And also, again, hats off to YRF again for doing this. They did this with Sayara last year. And now,
Yeah.
you're another wonderful talent that they've introduced as well. So well, or broken through with, I think it's just, honestly, I'm lost for words, really. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just get
Because
overwhelmed
it's a
very
feeling thing.
yeah, it's like even at
It's
the
a
beginning,
feeling thing.
like I feel like it's interesting how sometimes we were not, and ironically in this conversation we were both not able to articulate actually. Even in the beginning
Yeah.
of my introduction, I was like, "Arey, kya ho raha
Yeah.
hai?"
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
beautiful. But I think this is what makes it real.
Thank
It's
you.
the rawness that really brings it out. But look, Brajesh, thank you so much for joining me on Film Shilmy. It's been such a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Anu.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And hoping to see you soon in person sometime.
Definitely, 100%.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.